Actually, I think basically a lot of the music in the project is mainly even though it's original music, it is corresponding and is rooted very much within North Indian music. So if I would have to name it, I think it is closest to North Indian music, but some sort of a takeoff on it or interpretation of it in a different way.
Yeah, I think to Western audiences, what's interesting is that Zaki and Zakir, these wonderful chorale singers, they would never normally play with a brass band. But it's just the first time that kind of music's done together. And the brass bands just traditionally play in weddings and play in the streets. It's a very different culture. So,
and the brass instruments came from the British colonial period, is that correct?
That's right. I mean, it was so bizarre for me to hear this because it's like they invented their own form of jazz in isolation. And when we met Amir Khan, told him how amazing he is and asked him, what he thinks of, whoever, Lee Morgan or hadn't even heard of Miles Davis. It's just bizarre to us. And yet, because the Indian tradition is all about improvising within certain scales called rags, it's got its own parallel world. It's very strange.
And your contribution as a Western musician working mainly in the rock idiom, what does that add to what you were bringing to Shye and the other musicians?
Yeah, it's strange because with Radiohead, I'm just used to working in a very different harmonic world, which is all about chords. And in Indian music, there are no chords. There's no such thing as major or minor. And usually when you impose chords into Indian music, you force it. It's like putting a grid onto a painting. You make it sort of slightly more brutal than it is. It's very strange. Like even in some rags, you're allowed to move the fifth of the scale, the dominant, which is in Western music, it's all about the tonic and the dominant and the tension between it. And so the idea that you can have a scale where even the fifth is slightly pushed into microtones is very peculiar. But yeah, it's fascinating.
Did you play differently as a result?
Well, yeah, because I just turned up and heard these drummers and thought this is like the JBs. This is a funk thing. So it's just all about the bass line and I just thought of myself as being one of the drummers, really, and was just very wary of, like I say, imposing too many chords on it.
Mr. Solanki, I wanted to ask you, you have been named widely as India's best drummer, and I wanted to ask you, where does the rhythm that you were trained in fit within what Shye and Jonny and the other musicians were doing?
Thank you so much to everybody. Thank you so much to your love our music, like and respect. Music is a God, music is a life, music is a medicine. In the music, the rhythm is a mother. I'm so happy to meet them. And the rhythm, play the instrument I play this called Nagara. It's a traditional instrument from the temple. We have never played like this kind of stage. Thank you for Shye, thank you for Jonny. And I say in the movie, like 24 hours. This is the wrong. When I see the Jonny, then I care 26 hours. I see in my eyes. Why? You listen. I see in my eyes when the people want to see Radiohead. The 25, 26 hours before on the queue. This is the truth. Yeah? Somebody holds the queue always. Yeah. This is the truth. Thank you so much, Shye. And this project is a no Hindu, no Muslim. We are all the musicians, play in the temple, play in the road of the wedding, and they respect us. And they give us to good work, good name of the instrument, not for us. So we are very proud of play with them. Thank you.
I want to ask a little bit more about the collaboration. Did you start with ground rules in terms of what the framework of your music would sound like? And did you have an end point in terms of someplace you were trying to reach as you were playing?
I don't know. I mean, I came into this quite wary of how so-called world music is recorded and treated. It's usually done. Westerners seem to go to India and do something quite antiseptic and cautious and very carefully recorded. And the whole point of this music is that it's all quite sort of passionate and brash, and so we wanted to record it in that way. I remember one session when Zaki and Zakir were standing up, holding microphones like this, that were going into big speakers through echo boxes. It was a bit sort of, it was like they were doing some sort of, it was a little bit, what's that film? It was a bit 8 Mile, frankly.
8 Mile.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's kind of amazing. They were sort of
Losing themselves.
Whereas, traditionally, Westerners would go and record in India and just take the best microphones and make sure everything was just crystal clear, and that just always feels like a bit of dilution to me. I don't know what you think. I'm kind of telling you this.
I'm learning now. No, I think as far as the collaboration, if you ask about the lines drawn, what I felt very inspired by is the fact that, the compositions were made before we went into the fort, and then we were sitting and trying to figure out ideas of how to bring them about. And a lot of the things that I feel from that Jonny that is actually brought into it was, I've spent most of my adult life in India, and somehow I feel I see the things, and for me things are, the Indian music sounds a very natural way to listen to music. And suddenly Jonny came from few steps outside, and he was going, wow, these elements that for me I didn't even realize some of them that are actually there. It was just normal. Said, wow, these are great, and we should put more weightage on these ones. And as Jonny was saying, when you collaborate with Western musicians or Western music, a lot of time you always try to connect between the two opposite worlds. The one world which aesthetics are based on harmonies and chord progressions, and another world of Indian music which aesthetics are mostly based within the movement in the scales. And these are two completely different universes in a way, because as soon as you give a harmonious movement into something, you change the entire perspective and a feeling. And it's always very tempting to think, okay, we want to connect with the two worlds, let's put this and this together. And then when Jonny said, no, we should keep it this way, we should keep it in the more within the North Indian music system way, but we will add chords in a very cautious way, and different rhythm patterns. And then when he brought these sorts of thinking, I think all of us were very surprised. Even now, Natu and Ajmeri, when we're playing the rhythm in Junun, and Jonny is giving this guitar bass riff that is in 5/8, it's kind of musical terms a little bit, but it is somehow very complicated for me to listen to that and not really think about these things. So when he plays this rhythm of 5 on that kerva, it's that sort of an 8 rhythm. It's been very strange for all of us to listen to it. It's not something we're used to. It's not contradicting Indian music, but it's also not being used in it.
How do you know when something new like that works?
We smile.
Okay, good. I want to ask you about the collaborator who's not here, Paul Thomas Anderson. Jonny, of course, you've worked with him on many soundtracks for his films. And I wonder what has changed in your own music and in your film work and in the work that you did here in Junun, and what his influence has been in your music, and also what his role was as a collaborator here. How did he contribute to the Junun project?
How did he contribute to this? I mean, it was amazing, really. He just sort of... What's really impressed me, all of us, from the film, is how he managed to put a structure to it together and make a film out of it that really accurately recorded. That's exactly how it was. I mean, he's got the feel of being in the Indian streets. He's got the feel of what it was like to be in that room and recording. Those two singers turning up, and her wearing her shades and looking like, they were amazing. It was a really, it was really just such a memorable time of our life. We all talk about it the whole time, and we're trying to do another one and working out how it can be, we can do another version of it, because it was such a big deal for all of us.
And Shye, you were recording in the Maharaja's fort in Rajasthan, is that correct?
Yeah, this is what we see in the film, is the Mehrangarh Fort in Jodhpur, which is still owned by the Maharaja of Jodhpur himself.
I understand he's a fan of yours?
I wouldn't call him a fan. I hope I could say a friend.
He's someone that's completely supporting all the local musicians. I mean, he's famous for funding and teaching and helping keep all these traditions alive. So yeah, that certainly is.
That is another thing which is amazing, the way that music evolved in India, and still to this day you can see it. And somehow maybe in some of the places you'd see that it's disappearing, which is kind of a painful process, but with the new financial systems of basically capitalism, the way the modern world works, but historically music in India was basically, it started, and I'm saying music in India, it's a very general term, and maybe I'll take 2 minutes just to say it. I always feel very strange to talk about Indian music as a one thing when India is a subcontinent where music has been evolved for centuries, maybe thousands of years, if we're talking about the Veds, the early time. So music has been evolved periodically and at the same time geographically in a completely different manner. So saying Indian music is almost like saying Western music, and then in Western music we would include Italy and Germany and Britain and North America, and throughout the last 2,000 years or so, so that we would know it doesn't really make sense. So when we are talking about Indian music, we are talking about the rough division would be South Indian music, Carnatic music, and then North Indian music, and Bollywood music, which is kind of cinematic pop. Within North Indian music, we have the classical, the Shastra Sangeet, the music that is based of rags and the classical music, more refined. And then the folk music, which has within it the devotional music aspects and the musical genres. We are dealing in this project with music from Rajasthan, which folk music in North India, and Qawwali, the Sufi music that is also related to North India. These are Sufis, are mystics of Islam, and there is a whole genre of music that is evolved.
People might know Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan.
Yes, so he is one of the greatest ambassadors of Qawwali, and the source of Qawwali goes to the Sufi saint Khwaja Muinuddin Hassan Chishti, that his shrine is in Ajmer, where Zaki and Zakir are coming from. Later you can ask them question, and Sajda, which is my better half, my wife, she's from Ajmer as well. She can translate in a better Urdu than mine. So basically, when we are talking about the way that music evolved in India, it evolved as an oral tradition within musical families. So it started in temples and in shrines, and afterwards it went into the courts of the kings, the patrons who have supported it. And the Maharaja of Jodhpur is still, with that lineage, is still supporting local music and music traditions. So there is a lot of, there are families of musicians who are related specifically to the family of the Maharaja. So out of this respect, I would guess not just respect for us as people, as human beings, but the respect for music itself, he opened his fort and invited us to create that project. And where we were playing, there is a tradition of hundreds of years of people playing music in some of rooms which are acoustically made for playing music. So he was very, very generous and very supportive for the cause of that.
Thank you. I do want to ask the musicians from India, Natulal, Zakir, Zaki, and Amir, about Western musicians coming to India. It's been happening for many, many years now, and some do it better than others. Some are able to respect the traditions, but sometimes musicians from the West will get it wrong. And I wondered, as musicians who were raised in the Indian traditions of Rajasthan, how did you find Shye and Jonny to play with? What were they like as musical partners for you?
Hello. आपसे पूछ रहे हैं कि ज़्यादातर जो भी वेस्टर्न म्यूजिशियंस इंडिया में आते हैं तो कुछ सीखते हैं, कुछ उनको सही आइडिया होता है, किसी को नहीं होता है. तो उनका सवाल है कि जॉनी और शाई को एज अ म्यूजिशियन आपने कैसा पाया और उनके साथ काम करके आपको कैसा लगा?
जॉनी और शाई भाई का सबसे पहले शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ मैं कि इन लोगों ने हमें साथ लेकर के कुछ काम किया. और इससे पहले शास्त्रीय संगीत में हम लोग गाया बजाया करते थे. इसके अलावा कव्वाली जो रूहानी ग़िज़ा है सूफ़ियों की, उसको भी गाते थे. लेकिन जब शाई से मुलाकात हुई तो एक अलग अंदाज़ मिला गाने बजाने का.
First of all, they're very thankful to Jonny and Shye to collaborate with them, and they being playing as a classical musician, especially in the genre of qawwali. They are specialized. They are qawwals, which are the traditional musicians of this kind of genre called qawwali, and they are playing in the shrines of the Sufi saints, and that's what they are coming from.
दोनों से मुलाकात होने के बाद एक अलग माहौल मिला और कुछ नया जो हम लोगों ने कभी नहीं किया था, तो हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा. और आज तक इनकी कुछ कंपोजिशनें, इनकी कुछ एक अलग अंदाज़, वेस्टर्न अंदाज़ जो है वो एक बहुत ज़िंदगी को एक अच्छे मोड़ पर ले आया.
It's being very adventurous for them to play with both of them because they used to play only the traditional qawwali or classical music, but collaborating with them with the Western style of music and their compositions to play with, it was they were very honored, and it brings the I would say, it's a very nice word in Hindi, but that they bring on a very special stage in their life, this kind of music. It comes out in a very special stage in life.
जबकि म्यूज़िक की ज़ुबान पूरी दुनिया में एक ही है, चाहे जहाँ चले जाएं, म्यूज़िक पूरी दुनिया में एक ही ज़बान है, उसकी अलग अलग ज़बानें नहीं हैं. बस ये है तरीक़े अलग अलग हैं, अंदाज़ अलग अलग है. लेकिन हमें जॉनी के साथ, शाई भाई के साथ बहुत अच्छा लगा इनके साथ काम करके. और इनका जो म्यूज़िक है उसको सुनने के बाद एक अलग राह, एक अलग अंदाज़, एक अलग चीज़ मालूम हुई.
Music is a universal language, and it being very honored and pleasure and excited experience to work with both of them, and they're very happy and thankful. Thanks.
Thank you. We've got just a few minutes left, but I want to open the floor to you. I'm sure many of you will have questions about Junun. So I'll just ask you, if you've got a question about Junun or any of the musicians' contribution to it, please raise your hand and we'll, do we have microphones? Yep.
One upstairs on a stand.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Let's start right here. A microphone is on its way.
Hi there. Thank you so much. That was a great movie, and thank you so much for your answers. My question is to you, Jonny. I'm just curious why and what motivated you to go to India and meet Shye and begin this adventure of exploring Indian music.
So I saw a band playing in the desert in Israel, and their songs weren't great, but one of them was really good. And unfortunately, they hadn't written it. So it was a kind of awkward moment of complimenting some musicians on something they hadn't done. It was the one song that Shye had written. So that kind of led me to his songs, and then got to know Shye. It was actually my wife's idea her persuading me to go to India and us to sort of do this like all in, to not do it in a half-hearted way. And Nigel was really keen. Nigel Godrich, a radio producer, he's always, happy to do something adventurous, and just suddenly all came together. Yeah.
Thank you. There was another one right here. Go.
I just wanted to ask, I guess the question is for the entire group, how has this project been received in the Indian musical community?
I get the feeling the music community is a little confused by it, because you've got sort of, Sufi Muslims singing partly in Hebrew. It's a wonderful thing in lots of ways. It's possibly, I don't know, world music, which is such a horrible phrase for any kind of music. It's such an off-putting way to describe it. I don't know. It's religious music, obviously, but it's very passionate. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it depends. India is very big. It's definitely not a Bollywood project, which makes it into being like one of these blockbusters in that sense. But on the other hand, which really touches my heart personally, and I think the entire group, in Ajmer, in the Dargah Sharif, in the place where the holy shrine of the saint, people are very, very happy about that, and they play it, and the song, the poetry of Junun that is written by Hazrat Nawab Khadim Hassan Budri Shah Baba, which is a contemporary saint from Ajmer. So within that society, people accept the project, and they are very much excited about that, and that is a great honor for us to feel that this has been accepted, not only in Mumbai, where we can go and play, or in Delhi, or in Jaipur, which we do, but in the shrine of the traditional place itself. And that is a big thing for us. We didn't have the chance to perform together with this on the stage in India, besides that one single performance that you have seen, which was really also that time the Maharaja, he came on stage and he was very excited about seeing all these different musical communities, because within the group we talked about the Qawwals, and Natuji, as I mentioned also, that he's coming from another tradition, from the temple, playing Nagara. We have that tradition of Amir, who is playing brass. We talked a little bit about this fact that the brass is migrated to India with the British, and they are playing in the weddings and in the different processions in the streets. So there are different communities within Indian society that are involved in this project. So for when the Maharaja, he's mentioning in that film, we can see in the last line, he was very excited to see that suddenly all these communities come together in a project and play, because this is something that maybe sounds natural for us as musicians, but somehow, I don't know why, but socially, in a musical way, it doesn't really happen that often. So the fact that it has been received in Ajmer and in these places, it is a very big gift for us as well.
But you'll go up here.
Hi. I was just curious, because based on the documentary, the way it seemed is that most of the music was performed live off the floor. Is most music within that genre done that way?
Is most music recorded like just in everyone playing together? I suppose so. but usually it's in a real studio with glass walls separating musicians, and it's all done a bit more sort of properly. But with Radiohead, we have, we're using that word a lot tonight, but we have, the Radiohead tradition is to turn up and just turn a big empty house into a studio. So, and it's a little bit slapdash, and we even had, we needed a reverb, and luckily underneath us there was a big empty cavern, big empty cave. So we put a speaker at one end and a microphone at the other. So every time we wanted any reverb, we had it was a bit like making the whole fort part of the instrument. The only problem with it is there were so many pigeons down there. And on the record you can hear quite often screeching of birds just because they're all in the echo chamber, along with all the catering supplies and everything. But it was great. So yeah, so nothing digital, nothing artificial. It's all organic.
Okay, we'll go over here. Thank you, Johnny. We'll come to you after.
Hey guys, just wanted to say thank you for this wonderful gift you guys given us. It's beautiful. Just a question I have is the writing process. Was it improvised? Nigel's position as a producer, did he come in later on, or how was that process?
The songs were written. It was just a question of tweaking some of them and changing some structures. And yeah, like I remember Resolve was changed quite a lot and became far more, it was like a blues thing sort of originally, and then became more about the laptop and I don't know, what do you remember?
Yeah, I think then the final result, it was about finding the golden moments of the songs and kind of confining them into structures that would work in a recording. When we were basically, and we were there for 3 weeks, and we were playing the songs, and sometimes we would play, we were just talking about that because we saw the film from, not in the cinema, but just kind of a backstage scenario, and we saw Amir is playing that composition of Modern. I completely forgot, I haven't seen the movie for a while, and I completely forgot we actually recorded it as an instrumental. And it was just me and Jonny were talking about that when we were playing all day long, which was amazing. We were just playing all day long, and then we would like to take a break, and when we would take a break, the musicians like Amir and some of the other musicians would just go to the instrument and start playing. And so it was just all the time playing, and then trying to find, and that's the natural environment when you sit with the musicians, and that is something that is being done. And when I was saying that music is something which is within a tradition, it means people don't wake up one day and they said, oh, Mom, I want to go to study a trumpet and go to the conservatorium and find a teacher. It's something that's being played all day long in the house, in the ceremonies. So this is how it was in the fort, and then it was somehow we kind of succeeded to take some decisions of how long would be a track, and was very elastic, and remember the structures, I guess.
We've got time for just one more. We'll go back here. There's a woman who had her hand up. I'm sorry, in the blue and yellow.
Hi guys, thanks for coming out. I'm coming to your Radiohead tomorrow, which will be kind of cool. I was just thinking, with all the instruments, I remember in high school, we used to try to learn each other's instruments in band practice, and so I was wondering, did you guys check out each other's instruments and try to learn each other's instruments while you were hanging out with each other?
I'll just make a comment on that, because today we were laughing so much in the van, and we said that what would be if Nat would sing and Amir would play the Nagara and I would play, and just like realizing that it would be a complete disaster. We never did.
That would be a true
the only one that has a chance would be Jonny, basically. I guess, with some of the instruments, but mostly we never do that. I don't know.
Perhaps a challenge for you.
we are going to have to leave it there, unfortunately, in terms of questions, but the night's not over because we do have a musical setup back here. Jonny, I understand you will have to go, unfortunately, but the rest of the musicians, Shye Ben Tzur, Natulal, Amir, Zakir, and Zaki, will be performing for you. So thank you for this part. Thank you so much for coming, Jonny. It's a great honor to have you here. Press.
Yeah.